Okay, so what this is we're going to create a JSA today. We're going to look at the steps that it takes to create a JSA and what we need to do, what we need to look at when we create a JSA. Okay, so as Eva's read, jobs can be broken down into steps. Tony, what does that mean? Jobs can be broken down into steps or tasks. What does that mean?
Like it can be broken down into a certain procedure that you're supposed to do it in.
Yeah, so for example, step 1, open up the package or close the package. Step 2, take the package over to the conveyor belt. Step 3, whatever. Exactly, so there are certain steps that you would take. Okay, so in the first part of a JSA, as Eva had read, it says to list each step of the job as the employee performs the job. So Eva, can you give us an example of some of the steps performed in your job? So break your work down and give us specific steps in the job.
Well, in my job we don't really have steps because all we have to do is just stand behind the conveyor belt and pick out the rotten potatoes. Okay, so step 1 would be stand behind the conveyor belt. Step 2 would be to pick out rotten potatoes. Okay, step 3 would be, what do you do with those potatoes? Well, you throw them in the middle conveyor belt that collects all the rotten potatoes. So how many conveyor belts are there, Eva? There's one in front of you. Okay. And then there's one in the middle, and then one on the other side where people stand facing you, and you just all throw it in the middle. There's a lot of conveyor belts that you can't even count them really, but... Oh, wow, really? Okay. So there are steps that you can break it down in. So step 1, again, like I said, is stand behind the conveyor belt. Step 2 is pick out the rotten potatoes, and step 3 is just throw those rotten potatoes on the middle conveyor belt. So does that sound about right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's just breaking the job down into steps. So as we had broken down Eva's job, this is breaking down the steps of for grinding iron castings. Okay. So are there any questions about this so far? Does this make sense so far? Yep. Eva? Good. Thank you. Tony? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So identifying the hazards. Let's take a look at your job, Eva. So for step 1, standing behind the conveyor belt. Now we had identified some hazards. What are some protections that we could take for the hazards that we had identified, such as loose clothing getting caught? So what are some safety protections, that we could take in order to prevent those types of hazards? Make sure the footing area is clear. Clear of tripping hazards. And yeah, absolutely. We always have to tie back our hair. Yes. So you do. You do have to tie back your hair? Yeah. Okay, good. So there are safety precautions in place already. Okay, anything else? Make sure that no clothes hang loose over the conveyor belt. Okay, so is there a strict dress policy in place? No. There's not. No, not on the... Sorry, Eva, you cut out. Are you there? Yeah, I'm here now. The boss just said that we had to wear clothes that are good enough so they won't get caught. Okay. So you have to be aware of the types of clothing that you're wearing. Okay. All right, good. Nida, Tony, is there any other kind of procedures or safety precautions that you can maybe add to what we have been discussing with Eva's job?
Eva, where they have the conveyors, is it like level ground or is it like wet or something?
It's like, well, there's kind of a platform that's like maybe 1.5 feet above the floor because it's in a shop. And
so you have to stand up on it?
Yeah, and then the conveyor belt is kind of waist height. Well, actually, it's like above the waist, and the conveyor belt is, I think, about 2 feet wide. But there's also potatoes laying around on the floor sometimes, and there's a lot of times there's water on the floor because of the water that they use for the washing.
Okay.
The only other thing that I would think that they could use for like a safety procedure is like cleaning up potatoes or whatever, like at the end of the day, so at the beginning of the day then there's less risk of falling.
Now, do you think that it would be good just to wait until the end of the day, or do you think it would make more sense to maybe hire someone to ensure that potatoes are cleaned up all the way through the day? What do you think?
I think all the way through the day would be better.
Now, Eva, is that kind of something that's already in place? Is there somebody that takes care of those potatoes throughout the day to make sure that they don't become a tripping hazard?
Yeah, the guys that bag the potatoes, they make sure they kind of clean up around the area that we work, so there's not too many potatoes. If there's a spot where there's a lot of potatoes that fell off the conveyor belt or something, they clean it up at the end of the day or when they have time.
Oh, okay. So maybe having someone that does just that specific job might be more beneficial in terms of safety. Okay, so what kind of job is this, Tony? When you read this, what do you see in your mind? What kind of job is this? Can you describe it for Eva and Nancy, Eva and Nida and I?
Somebody taking pieces of metal and bending them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so Nida and Eva, does this job make sense to you, or do you want to talk about it a little bit more before we need to create a JSA, before we go and try and create that JSA?
It makes sense to me.
It makes sense? Okay, so yeah, it's just like what Tony had said. Eva, did you have any other questions, or is this okay?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. So choose a color for the typing tool, write your name at the top, and then let's start trying to fill in some steps here. Okay, so for job steps, let's break these down into job steps. Nida, Tony, and Eva, can you take some time to fill in some of the job steps, please? Tony, do you want to just quickly read what you put on there?
Just the blue stuff that I put?
Yes, please.
Like all of it, or just like job steps, or what?
Under job steps, potential hazards, and recommended safety job procedures, please.
Okay. For job steps, I put take blank pieces of metal. For potential hazards, I put cutting hands on the metal edges, and recommended safety procedures, wear gloves to avoid cutting on edges.
Awesome. Good. Okay, thank you very much. That's exactly right. Great. Okay. All right, are there any questions about JSAs today? No questions?
Nope.
So I'd like you to just take some time now to fill in some points on things that you might take away, that you may have taken away from today, maybe some things that you have learned, some things that you already knew. Just kind of take some time to fill in. And yeah, good, how to fill a JSA and pay attention. Attention to detail is key, Tony. Absolutely. Better overall idea of the JSA. Good, okay. And Nida, is that you in the teal there? Okay. JSAs can be really important because if they weren't in place, so many accidents could occur. Yes. When an accident does occur, you need to review the JSA. Yes, absolutely. To review what you missed in your JSA. What step did you miss? What hazard did you miss? Absolutely. Good points. Yes, that's right. JSA is to avoid the hazards in the first place. So what did you miss, and why do we need to do it again? Is so that we can make sure that we prevent that accident from ever happening again. Different PPE for different jobs and hazards. Absolutely, that's a good point, Eva.